Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's TheSketchMonkey here. I'm back here at Winslow BMW to have a look at this. This is a car that I wanted to review since it came out, when I first saw the official photos of this, because underneath it's a pretty cool car. You have a flat 4 2.4 liter turbocharged under this beautifully sculpted hood. 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds, 271 horsepower, 6-speed manual, and of course it's a Subi. It's gonna come with all-wheel drive. So what I want to do in this video, talk about the cool stuff, for example the front end, and then talk about the rest of the car. We're going to do a couple of redesigns specifically to the rear end of this car, but let's start with the design features that we have right here in the front end. Looking at the front end of the 5th generation WRX, I think this is definitely by far the best view for this car. You have a very chiseled front end, sharp corners all over the place. The headlight look also very nice with this chamfer going underneath it, and then you have this bar or body piece that sticks in and carves into the headlight themselves. And the graphics of the headlight give it a pretty strong brand identity for the Subaru. You do know that this is a Subaru when you see this coming at you, even though all the elements are exactly where you expect them to be. I do like that we have the LED fog lights down here. However, this entire section here is all fake, so we have some texture to it, making it look like it is a grille down there. But let's talk about these headlights for a second. If I were to redesign anything in the front end, it would definitely be these headlights. I think they are a little bit too small for the overall proportions and the overall graphics that we have, the other features that we have in the front end. Just extend them or make them maybe 5-10% bigger, and I think it's going to fill out the front end in a much more beautiful way. Now, even though this lower part in the corners are fake, it's all good because we have a functional hood vent up there in classic Subaru WRX style, and it also got a lot wider. And what I like about this design is this hood design. You have these lines cutting into the hood and creating this flow motion that feels separated from the sharpness that goes on in the front end. Just a beautiful touch that I think the designers had a little bit of fun sketching out that line that we have up top on the hood. So coming around to the side view of the Subaru WRX, and this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky for me. Not necessarily in this car right here, because this is gray, so the fenders melt in well into the body colors of the overall car. But if you were to have, for example, a white car, then you have these being black, and what that does, these fenders being black, it makes it feel like the wheel is sitting inside of a larger hole than it should be, because this is still part of the body, but having it be black makes it feel like the hole itself is larger, makes the wheel feels very tiny inside here. So I will always like to have these pieces in body color if I were to get this WRX. That's a mod that I think I would do to my WRX if I got one. However, one cool thing here is that this front fender is actually functional. You have this golf ball texture to it, which Subaru themselves says is going to help with aerodynamics. Who knows? But then you have also this holes right here in the front fender, which actually provides some airflow for the wheel turbulence that goes on in the wheel well to kind of shoot out of that point. Looking at the shoulder line of this thing, it's a very unique and interesting shoulder line because it has this dip to it. So it goes straight down and then it goes slightly upwards in this area. So what I would like to do here to redesign this, first of all, make the fenders, these pieces in body colored, maybe not on this car since it's already gray, but having the shoulder line, this line, I want to have it go straight down and not go back up, and creating this volume that kind of stretches this down because we have this bend going like this in this area. Just have it be continuous straight, maybe connect with something in the front end bumper. One detail I do love in the side view is the muscle that we have going over the rear axle on this WRX. This is a beautiful line going here, adding some width to this design and adding some plantedness looking at it from a 3/4 rear view, which we're going to do in just a minute. So what about the wheels here? You can get the WRX with the base 17-inch wheels, but these are the 18-inch, and I think these look so much better than the 17-inch. I think 18 even might look a little too small for me. I know it's a WRX, you might take this off-road, you don't want to have massive wheels on there, but maybe 19s would be perfect for this, with some spacers to have it flush with the bodywork. All right, so coming around to the 3/4 rear view of the WRX, and this is where it gets even more tricky for me. But still, it looks a lot better when you have it in gray color like we have here. Imagine though if you had this in white, and the white contrast is super strong with the rest of the black graphics, specifically here in the rear. You have a massive bumper slash diffuser down here that I don't understand why Subaru did this integration with just a matte black plastic piece here that takes up pretty much 30% of the entire height of the rear end. What I want to do is redesign this and make it a little bit more sleek. So how do we fix this problem that we have in the rear end? There are a couple problems here. We have this lava style taillights, which I think looks really cool. It's a unique take on an LED taillight, not just having one single bar. It has some texture to it inside. Two things I want to change here, or actually three, now that I look at this top view up top. So first of all, let's change the bumper, make it a little bit lower and make it a little bit more sleek. The taillights, I want to change these as well to have the same feeling as I do in the redesign in the lower part, meaning having them stretch out a little further and shrink them down just a bit to add some more width to this rear end, because now this diffuser down here, it builds height, and in addition to these pretty rectangular or static looking taillights. So let's add some more automotive design into this rear end. And last but not least, we need to put an STI wing up here, because this thing up here does not work for me. This looks a little weird. The integration of this, I don't know what it's supposed to be, a trunk spoiler or a trunk lip. It doesn't look like it belongs onto this car. So either remove that, or we can simply just solve the problem by adding an STI wing. So we're up and personal with the Subaru WRX taillights here, and you can see this texture that we have going on here. So I think this is a really cool idea by Subaru to add something more unique and have some fun with this almost pixelated stuff that goes on here. However, I do want to have an LED indicator, but then you have to think about the base price of this. It starts at $30,000 for the very base WRX. So if you consider the price, I guess I can live with just normal light bulb indicators in the rear. Welcome to the interior, the very dark and ominous interior of the Subaru WRX. I like it in here. The quality of the pieces that you feel over here, you know, it's not the highest quality, but I'm gonna keep coming back to the $30,000 base price for this car. You have an 11.6, I think 11.4 inch infotainment screen in the center. And honestly, the integration of this, the materials feels pretty, you know, not upscale, but still the integration, the design of this thing and how it's integrated in the dash itself, I think it's looking really good having it right here. And you have some manual vents for the airflow, very easy to use. Down here you have two USB normal ports. You don't have wireless charging in here, but you do get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto as standard with the WRX. And the coolest thing here, of course, is going to be the 6-speed manual transmission. The weird thing is the top of the line, like over $40,000 GT WRX, only comes with an automatic, and that automatic is a CVT transmission. Not sure what Subaru was thinking there, which is why I would go for this trim that we have here. This is the premium one. Looking at the steering wheel, I love the design of the center parts with these chamfers here. You have some fake carbon fiber texture here, looking pretty cool. They might as well just open this area up to have a hole in this section. That would look cool too. On the side, you have the controls for the cruise control on the right and the volume and radio controls on the left. The gauge cluster, we have analog tachometer and speedometer, which again, I don't mind because we have a center display that is big enough for me to show whatever information that I want and need. What I like about this infotainment screen here is that the controls for the climate is still, you have two buttons for that right here. But for the most settings, you need to go into the software and adjust it in there, which is kind of a bummer because they might as well just put a couple of buttons back down here, for example, for the airflow and stuff like that. Basic controls down here would be nice. In the middle, we don't have a lot of storage here. This is the smallest armrest I've ever seen in my life, but I think we can open it like this, and actually, look at that, it just pops up and becomes even bigger, but it doesn't look like we can open this at all. We can just pop it back up and forth like this, I guess. We do have two cup holders right here in the middle and a little coin slot thingy right here. These seats, cloth seats with the red WRX stitching, looking pretty nice, and as I sit in here, they feel pretty comfortable. I can't go any lower than this. I wish I could go just a little bit lower in this car, but I can see the hood bulge from the intake in the hood, which is always nice, kind of reminds you of what you're sitting in. The doors are also very simple. It's interesting because we have this black fake carbon fiber in the steering wheel, and then we have the silver fake carbon fiber on the doors. So they decided to switch it up and go a little crazy. Last but not least, we have a proper looking glove box. I also like that we have aluminum pedals all across. Even the dead pedal is aluminum, so great job in that little detail, Subaru. We have no sunroof in here, and as you know, I really don't care about that. I prefer not having it, so that's great. But with that said, we've had a look at the front seats. Let's jump into the back and see if I can actually fit there at 6'1". All right, guys, climbing into the rear seat of the Subaru WRX. Headroom is great, actually. It feels like it is a pretty tall car when you look at this from a side view. Legroom is pretty decent as well. I could be comfortable back here for even a longer road trip, no problems at all. We've talked about the exterior design, made a couple of changes to the front and rear, and we talked about the interior. Now it's time to fire this 2.4 liter flat 4-cylinder up, and let's hear what this sounds like. Alrighty, guys, setting off in the new WRX. So let's see if it still has that WRX magic when it comes to the driving experience. ...271 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds from a 2.4 liter turbocharged flat 4. You have all-wheel drive, you have a 6-speed manual. What's not to like in here? I do wish that I could sit a little lower, though. I feel like I'm sitting basically on top of the roof of this car. The shifters feel maybe a little loose. They're not as tight as I would want them to be, but doesn't really bother me that much. I still keep in mind, I have to keep in mind that this just costs $30,000 with this powertrain, not the premium trim level, but for the very base WRX, you can get it for $30,000. And for that, with this powertrain, that's just a fantastic deal. It's very fun to drive in the corners. It still has that rally heritage in it, I guess. Down to second, take this corner, step on it. Yeah, it feels great. It feels really good. Let's do one more lap in this traffic circle so we get some distance to the car in front of us. And going out of this traffic circle in second gear. Oh yeah, it definitely pulls. It pulls really well for 271 horsepower. Not sure how much this weighs, but it can't be that much since it's pulling this hard with this amount of power. I do wish we had some more turbo noise, though. That would be nice. It is a WRX. I don't think anybody's gonna mind if they hear the turbo, complain about hearing turbo noises if they're buying a WRX. Whew, it is hot in here. The good thing about this infotainment screen is that the vent controls and the temp control is always visible, so I don't have to go into some other menu to just change that. For now, for example, when it's hot in here, just want to have it blow on me, adjust the vents manually, and that's about it. Redline is at 6,000 RPM, which feels totally fine. Revving it out to that is always fun in every single gear. Okay, so there's no one behind me. There's no one in front of me. Let's just put it in first and let's go. First gear is very short, so you gotta be quick into second there. Man, it's fun to drive this thing. I kind of don't mind the rear end now. If we just put an STI wing on the rear with this type of driving, I'm all good. And this WRX is for sale right here at Winslow BMW in Colorado Springs. If you're interested in this or any other cars that you have in the inventory here, I'm going to link all of them down in the description. I see a blue X5M, the previous generation, looking gorgeous right there, for example. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks again to Winslow BMW for providing this car for me to review. If you enjoy this type of videos, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.